Welcome to Storyteller's Connection. I'm Brighthawk. This week's story was inspired by the headlines. This week, we learned that 500,000 people, 500,000 people, have lost their lives to COVID-19. And that's just in this country alone, in the United States. 500,000 people. So it got me thinking about death. Death teaches us about life. Death makes us appreciate life. Death reminds us that every life has a purpose. Every soul is unique. And every death can teach us something about life. Often it teaches us to be grateful for what we have and who we have, and to love the ones we're with. My first experiences of death as a child, the first time I can remember sort of learning about death, was when I was in third grade. My grandmother died, and I remember my dad being so sad. The adults all seemed to be really sad and didn't want to talk about it. When I was in fourth grade, Peter, my peer, we'd gone from kindergarten through fourth grade together. He passed away and was buried on my birthday. And in both cases, I was told I was too young to go to the funeral and that I didn't need to worry about it. But being denied the opportunity to say goodbye just made death that much more mysterious. When I was an adolescent in high school, again, a childhood friend passed away from cancer. She was a freshman in college, and I was in the last year of high school. And her death touched me as a teenager, grief and existential angst. Well, her death taught me that nothing lasts forever. No one and no feeling lasts forever. I think in our teenage years, we feel things so intensely, and to learn that nothing lasts forever, including a feeling, was an important message. Every death has something to teach us, as does every life. Every life has a purpose. In 2006, I felt like I got a PhD in death and dying. At the beginning of that year, my oldest sister, Teresa, was entering her third year with stage 4 cancer. But it was the call that I would get from another sister, a different sister, that would start the journey. I'll never forget that call. I was on my way to the ski slopes in Colorado, and her number came up on my caller ID, and I remember thinking, you shouldn't be calling me. You're supposed to be traveling. She was taking her family to New York City for spring break. It was the first time for all of them. They were very excited. And so she quickly brought me up to speed that they were not flying, that while changing planes in Seattle, her husband, William, had a cardiac event, and he was currently in the ICU on life support. Could I come to Seattle and help out with the kids? Of course. Her daughter, Hannah, was just 13 years old and very close to her dad. James was 7, just old enough to understand and remember. After 5 days on life support, Katie had to do the very brave thing. She asked the neurologist to help her explain medically that William was never going to recover, and she needed to honor his request that he never be kept alive on machines. Just a year before, I had received an amazing gift from an amazing musician. Gary Stadler had gifted me a beautiful steel hand pan called a Hong pan art. And this instrument, every time I played it, felt like it instantly called the angels. It felt like it thinned the veils and provided such a beautiful vibration. So I offered, and I was invited to play music for them while they said goodbye. I found a chair and settled down behind some life-saving machines, giving room and space around the bed, where Katie and the children would say goodbye. She pulled out 3 Sharpie markers, handing one to each of them, and then drawing a heart on his chest, expressing her love and saying goodbye, and each child writing on their father's forearm, "I love you, Daddy." And I thought, how amazing. Even up to the very end, this man, this father, husband, was a teacher, a professor, and he would be teaching to the very end. William knew he had a rare heart condition and had agreed to have his body go to science when he was gone. Can you imagine being the medical students who would receive this man tattooed in love by his family? Every life has a purpose, and every death has something to teach us. 15 weeks after William was gone, I got the call from my parents that my sister Teresa was on her way. The first piece of music that I ever composed on this handpan was called Teresa's Lullaby. And I'd made many trips between California and Colorado in her final year, playing music for her and seeing how the vibration helped her relax and find peace and ease. I played at her bedside, I played at her funeral, I played at her graveside. And what I noticed was that music, the vibration of music, changed things. It was like a portal, a different way of communicating, an awareness I had of both sides, if you will. About a week after we had buried my sister Teresa, my dad collapsed. And we found out that while he had been nursing my sister Teresa, who passed away at 53, he too had stage 4 cancer. And 6 weeks later, we would all be at his bedside. And this time it was beautiful. Nearly all his children, his wife of 53 years. I put my instrument at his feet, by the soles of his feet, and I played the composition I had created for him called Daddy's Delight. The music gave us a portal, a way through. They say the last human sense is our sense of hearing, and I felt that he could hear exactly the music and that I could carry him in that vibration like the ferryman. And playing music for my father in his transition was akin to being the musician in the ferryman's boat. The music carrying us over the Rainbow Bridge, arriving at a light so brilliant and bright you can't even imagine, and knowing he had been safely delivered, me feeling myself returning to this time and space. And a mist in the room, a glow that lingered for a while. And then he was gone, the patriarch of the family, and we would never be the same. Every life has a purpose, and every death can teach us something. It's unfortunate that when my mom passed a few years ago, it was quite the opposite. She was alone. None of us were called or summoned. There were no memorable goodbyes. There was no musical send-off. And the taste of the grief that was left was very different. Every life has a purpose, and every death can teach us something. You have been touched. What has death taught you? My childhood friend Peter, his death taught me about making the most of this one precious life. I haven't had a birthday yet that I haven't thought of him and making the most of the life that I have. My other adolescent friend who passed away in my teenage years, Susan, her life taught me no one and nothing lasts forever, not even a feeling. My brother-in-law, my sister, my dad, each of them, their deaths taught me something quite different. That death was not the end. It's a transition. It's the end of the human form. But in fact, you can have a whole new relationship with the one who's passed because their energy is different. They're a presence. I mean, how many times have you heard, I felt their presence? It's a different kind of relationship, but it's a relationship nonetheless. And I am grateful for those relationships. Every death has the opportunity to teach us and help us reaffirm life, reaffirm our purpose, be truly grateful for what we have and the opportunities we've been given. How are you honoring your one precious life? What have you learned along the way? What has death taught you? What are you grateful for? And how are you making the most of this precious moment, this gift of presence? When I changed my relationship with death and how I thought about it, how I now perceive it as a transition, as a change in energy, as not a finality, but something else, I really truly believe that which is remembered lives. That each of us, as we become more sensitive to these things, as our wisdom and experience grows, I think we become aware of the presence in our life, of the guides, of the angels that have a way of whispering to us and helping us stay on our path or find our path or make the right turn at just the right moment. Every life has a purpose and every death can teach us something. My mom's passing definitely helped reaffirm for me my purpose and to follow through on my destiny. What's yours? Is there a certain someone who's helped you recognize and realize what's important to you in your life? I bet there is. I know for me, my purpose is to be a graceful, shimmering rainbow, gratefully connecting purpose, passion, and pleasure for the living and the dying. What's yours? Death, I know it can seem like a pretty heavy theme, but you know what? It's something we all experience. And I believe in the art of personal storytelling. It's by sharing our experiences that we learn from each other. The most important thing I have learned about telling personal stories is to make sure that you never forget to answer for your audience what's in it for them. Being able to pay them off for their time and their attention. Talking about death, while it may seem like a pretty heavy topic, it is a completely universal topic. Every human has an experience with it. If you live long enough, you have many experiences. I encourage you, when you're crafting your own story, to ask yourself what's important. What is the message you're trying to convey? This is how a story becomes meaningful for your listener. That's the point. It's not about you sharing your lifelong story and taking us all through something that goes on too long and doesn't deliver a meaningful, poignant message for us. And if we have to figure it out for ourselves, we're not usually very satisfied or happy about it. So my goal is to help you become a better storyteller. Own your story. There's a quote that I love. It says, "Tell me a fact and I'll learn. Tell me a truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever." I think that if anyone, everyone, that we all have a responsibility to be good storytellers for ourselves and for our friends and family. My purpose and passion as a storyteller is to do what I can to help all of you become better storytellers. And that's what Storytellers Connection is all about, helping all of us become better storytellers. Thanks for joining Storytellers Connection, and I hope you'll join us at the next live online event where I can hear your story. The next Storytellers Connection online is Thursday, February 25th. Please sign up and let us know you're coming. We look forward to hearing your story. Thank you for listening and for sharing and commenting. Storytellers Connection, where we help each other become better storytellers.